Well, I want some of the people that voted for Hillary Clinton to take heart that actually liberals won this election, and I have to actually address the definition of liberal. I mean, there's liberal political liberalism and all that. Actually, I don't like the way they co-opted that word because if you look into Webster's dictionary of Webster's Merrimack Dictionary for what liberal means, yes, it could be liberal arts and something whatever befitting a man of free birth. But number two, marked by generosity and open-handedness, given provided in a generous and open-handed way, ample, full. In other words, um, yeah, it could be you're liberal in what you're giving, but it could be not just by the government, it could be by a person. And to give you like a very simple example, probably nobody thinks of, say you have a family that has a car that broke down and they go to a mechanic who's not a high dollar person. He's just eking by making a living fixing cars, and they give him this old car that's 15, 20 years old, and he gives him a price to fix it. And then he realizes he runs into problems because old cars run into problems with rusty bolts, and he's got to get the torch to get the bolts off. He's got to replace bolts. He's got to replace other stuff, and he doesn't want to go over the price. And he actually puts several more hours into the job because he knows these people don't have much money. Well, that's a market generosity too. Even that, even that. It could be a lot of different things. It could be somebody that just helps you change a tire on the side of the road, or what. It could be anybody. Anybody that even does their job a little bit extra beyond what's necessary to fulfill a promise to a person in exchange for payment. Even that can be considered generosity. I don't like the idea when you're talking like generosity and you're saying, let's, you know, let me abstractly take from the people with the most money and just give it to the poor people. That may sometimes be a good idea. I'm not saying that's always a bad idea, but um, generosity can be a lot of different things. And I don't think, see, Donald Trump is not your dyed-in-the-wool Eastern establishment, typical Republican, because he used to be a Democrat. So I think you're going to find he might be a lot different. I'm not 100% sure about him either. Now, liberal also means broad minded, not bound by authoritarianism, orthodoxy, or traditional forms. I 100% agree with that. I'm not like, I'm not really conservative, but I did support, well, I voted for Donald Trump because I realized the other side of the ticket, in my opinion anyway, my humble opinion, okay, Hillary Clinton does not represent what liberal is about. She's a cold calculating, political thing, whatever. And if her husband was really running her campaign, I'll tell you this honestly, if her husband Bill was running her campaign, and you might, whether you like him or not, he does connect much, much better with people. He does understand the political strategy much better, and it probably would have been gave her enough to win. But she decided to just, I know my best, and you're just old, you don't know anything, and whatever. So, but now if we get into the actual liberalism as figured with political things, it's totally different. It's like um, when you're taking the government funds and you're giving it to certain elements of the society. Now, I'm not even against that at all, but I realize there's one basic principle. Before you can help others, you have to help yourself be strong first before it gives you the ability to help others. If you give too much, it destroys yourself. Just think of yourself as a person. And I know a lot of times people that are liberal, sometimes they're not really legit because they don't give them, they don't give of themselves. They want the government to give to them. That's another thing too. But of the true liberals out there, and I consider myself a true liberal, but not a liberal in the definition as considered um, political liberalism, because it really is a word they co-opted. It's communism. It's not even socialism. It's communism, for crying out loud. It's worst, and that's been one of the worst draconian, authoritarian modes of political, way that has ever been out there. It's been the worst. Now, what's always been going on behind the scenes, the bankers always have controlled everything. And honestly, somehow I know Donald Trump is still got the strings on him with the bankers. I mean, this guy can't be 100% independent. It's impossible. But who the hell knows? I mean, I just know that you couldn't. Bernie Sanders. I wouldn't have voted for Bernie Sanders. Now, if a Democrat ran Jim Webb, I would have voted for Jim Webb. He's got a proven track record of being very patriotic. He was, first off, he got a Silver Star, highly decorated Vietnam veteran. He's been a Secretary of the Navy. He's been a senator from Virginia and a Harvard Fellow. So, I would have probably voted for Jim Webb. I can understand where people would vote for Bernie. I don't think he's all what he says he is, but I can understand that. And Bernie is anti-Wall Street. Bernie's anti-IMF, give money to the International Monetary Fund. And, Hillary's all, whatever, she's all connected to Wall Street to the max. So I can't quite get it, but, I can't quite get it. But, I could tell you what's really going to be coming down the road, and I think they're going to do anything they possibly can. Well, I think no matter if Trump got in, I know Trump did get in, but if you say Hillary got in, we're going into, a problem. And the problems are the derivatives exposures to all these big banks like Citibank, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and Bank of America, JP Morgan Chase. The derivatives exposure is going to cause a major implosion of debt, and it's going to cause deflation in large ticket asset prices like your home and stuff like that. Right now, the home's been going up, but things haven't hit yet, it's going to cause a lot of hardship in the classes of people that don't have a lot of money because it's going to be food and fuel. That's going to cost them a lot. In other words, fuel for the car, fuel for the home heating, and food, which is absolutely things you can't do without. That's where the inflation is going to occur, and there's nothing really anybody's going to be able to do about it. Now, I'm also going to say, I know that now this is not a mosque; it's a Christian church, but I kind of use this picture because it has the domes on it. The mosques have the domes. Actually, that dome thing is something actually a lot of people don't realize this. Reason they chose this dome, it really brings in energies in and around us, and it works to accentuate the authority, whether it's political authority or religious authority. Now, to tell you the truth, like I said, I'm pretty much lean heavily towards true liberal, and I know some people say that's libertarian, but they took the word. I don't think they should use that word in their political parties. I don't like that when they use that word because liberal means free thinking, generous, do as you please as long as you're not harming others. I'm all for that. I'm fine with that. So I'm not really like just real religious conservative or anything like that. The the thing is, if Hillary had her policy and she brought in a lot of Muslims, you'd probably see a lot of religious authoritarianism cropping up in areas that that population grow. Now, if you look back at during centuries, I know Christendom's got to kind of watered down a lot. It's pretty laissez-faire, but not that long ago, that was very authoritarian, and it really regulated the hell out of everybody's lives on a personal basis. And it was a lot of do as I say, don't do as I do. But now the new thing out there that's doing that is Islam. They're getting really, but Christendom was like that for most of its existence. And I can't see why liberals would vote for a candidate that would bring in a lot of people that would build a system that would be religious authoritarian. And that would be Hillary Clinton. So I don't get it. I don't get it. So I think, in Trump, by keeping that, watching who the hell we get in the country, and it's not like he's putting the brakes on all immigration. He's actually helping liberalism, true liberalism. That's why I don't think a lot of people are going to mind him. Now, still behind the scenes and what's going to happen in his cabinet, I don't know. I have a tendency to think that, it's not going to be all perfect. It's good. No matter what happens, you got the skull and bones behind there. You got the secret societies. And how the hell do you know who's in a secret society? Because it's a secret, right? So he's always been dealing with this type of stuff, even in business. But he is a patriotic fellow, and the one thing I could say with patriotism is to be generous, you have to be strong first. So if the country's going to even be generous, we got to survive as a country. If we want to be generous to the people that live in this country, we got to do well in this country. We got to have good business in this country. We got to have enough money to help the downtrodden. I mean, that's one way of looking at it. I don't believe in a trickle down theory, but if the whole country becomes poor due to globalism, well, we can't help anybody. Period. There's nothing we could do about it. And I think that was Hillary's message because she was owned by the Wall Street people. Well, we're probably going to get on to, hopefully, I don't know how this is all going to work out because honestly, I think things have been set in motion for so many years that whoever's in office, and the president can't control the economy. I mean, the Federal Reserve controls the economy more than anything. And if we had a president that controlled the economy by definition, that would be fascism. So, I mean, the best thing what Donald Trump could do is just get the burden of government off the backs of too much off the companies where there's too much regulation. Like we got the clean burning coal with the West Virginia voted for a lot of these people, and a lot of people in West Virginia voted for Trump for that reason. She was going to like clobber that, get rid of the coal burning. Now, it's not dirty because the EPA's gotten very, very, very strict with the coal burning, right? But you really want to decimate the industry all the way. Now, think about what happens this winter coming up, because this winter coming up is probably going to be one of our much colder winters on record, despite the theories of global warming. But to just give you a heads up, they've been having like record snows in Canada over the last month, also in the Cascades of California, and not in California, but in the West Coast, and also Siberia. They're 50 in certain areas of Siberia. They're 50 degrees below normal, 50 degrees Fahrenheit below normal, which that creates the polar Arctic vortex or the Siberian Express, because once you build up all that cold air in Siberia, it creates, you get a lot of snow cover. They've had record snows in Scandinavia already this early, and that's a prelude to what's going to happen this winter. So think about, the coal policies and energy producing policies of Hillary Clinton when it comes down to what's going to happen this winter. You're probably going to be thinking, well, I'm glad, we got Trump in office because, if there's one thing you might want to think about is like being energy independent, developing our energy resources, using them wisely and cleanly so they can benefit us, us humans. And I don't consider us humans less worth than, the rest of the world, right? So we got to manage things correctly, practice conservationism, but at the same time, we're not here to destroy the United States by setting us back, 15 centuries or something like that. And that's exactly what was going on with the globalist agenda. It's really probably a diabolical depopulation agenda. Now I know Obama and Hillary never got along very well, but they pretty much. I like Obama a lot better than Hillary. Not to say I like Obama, and I like Bill Clinton better than Obama, but I don't like Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton's actually a likable guy. He is a likable guy. I don't like him politically, but I don't like George Bush politically either. So, but just to tell you again that people that feel like, oh, we lost, you're really, this lady does not represent what liberalism is about. She represents statism. She represents Wall Street. She represents power, cold calculating power. It's all the guys. Obama looked like the guy from the outside, but it turned out, I kind of figured he's not the guy from the outside. Trump, I'm not 100% sure. I mean, if you look at some of the, I forgot what the Simpsons cartoons. They had the Simpsons cartoons back in 2000. I don't want to display them, but maybe you can find them on the internet. Maybe you can find them on YouTube, whatever. I don't know if they're allowed to be displayed. But the Simpsons cartoons predicted a Trump presidency. And the electoral college map, even on the Simpsons cartoon, was very, very close to what actually happened in the election. New Mexico and Colorado going to Hillary, and like California, Washington, Oregon going to Hillary, and all the South going to Trump, and most of the Midwest going to Trump, and Northeast going to Hillary. It was like pretty wild how they predicted that, and they had that on a Simpsons cartoon. Because if you want to look back at something else, the Simpsons cartoon predicted 911 with the Twin Towers. If you look at those references on YouTube, so I'm getting to wonder, maybe this whole thing's a freaking game, man. I got an open mind about this. I know I didn't want her because she's way corrupt. She's beyond corrupt. I don't know. There's a word like there's gonna be a new word in the Merriam-Webster's dictionary under corruption that if you take an extreme corruption, it's gonna be Hillary Clinton. But yeah, she's so corrupt she became a liability. She's done. But it's like pick your poison, right? One's on the left, one's on the right, right? That's what the hell it is. But I think with Trump, since he pissed off the Republican establishment a lot, and he destroyed the freaking Bush family, and Weenie Jeb Bush and all that. Yeah, I mean, he actually destroyed two political dynasties. It's pretty funny, man. He's all right, man. I mean, he probably is not, left or right. He's in the middle, right? Whatever, you like the middle. Anyway, now that's not a reference now of anything. But just remember that I think true liberalism was never represented by, well, it's not supposedly represented by the Republican Party either, but I don't think it was ever represented by the Democratic Party. It's statism, authoritarianism. Even when they give to people, they have to authoritarianly take it away from somebody. I mean, it's like, and then they kill the economy in the process of doing that by excess taxation. And I'm all for freaking taxing the wealthy too. I mean, I'm not against that. I mean, but there's a limit to how much you could do. If you bleed them dry, I mean, then you got nothing. Then you got nothing. Actually, probably cheaper energy was one of the best things we could do to spur on where everybody has more. And if you're going too far with regulations, like the coal industry was a good example. Like West Virginia, landslide for freaking Trump, right? Big time, especially in the counties that produce coal. Well, the reason is for that because it would have destroyed their economy. But coal industry is already highly regulated, and it's clean. It's clean. It's very highly regulated. Now, if you destroy that industry completely, you're taking away a lot of cheap energy from people, and you're going to pay a lot more. And that puts the brakes on the economy because everything grown uses a lot of energy. Food uses a lot of energy. Anything in a retail stores gets transported to there. Anything you buy online gets transported to you by UPS, FedEx, or whatever, DHL. That uses energy. Anything produced or manufactured uses energy. So, and actually, if you look at oil prices, as oil prices go up, that puts the brakes on the Dow, the equities themselves. It puts the brakes on the GDP. So, not being, see, in her case, I think her thing was her agenda was the globalist agenda, which is total deindustrialization in the United States completely. And that is definitely not going to help the poor and downtrodden. No way in hell. No way in hell. She's in with the bad boys all the way. So, by Trump winning, or her losing more specifically, it was a victory for liberals, true liberals. And, her other policy was she was going to bring in a lot of people, Muslim, that you don't know what you're getting, just like a lot of people. So maybe you'll start getting pockets of Sharia law. Now, I'm showing a church here, but, back in the day, how strict things could have been back in the 15th century or even the 17th century in, 1600s in the United States with the Salem witch hunts. You don't need that kind of stuff. That's definitely not liberal, not in the least. So, take heart on this thing, for crying out loud. I mean, there's so much. See, Soros is trying to Soros and other people like him, banksters and all that garbage, they're trying to play this up like crisis and all this kind of crap just to get you all pissed off. And the reality of the situation is, you know, whatever Trump does, actually, to tell you the truth, if he does less, it's better. If he gets rid of a lot of rules, it'd be better. Uh, it's going to help people. And if you really are a liberal, let's go back to the word. Let's go back to the word. Not bound by authoritarianism, orthodoxy, or traditional forms. I'm fine with that. Broad-minded and marked by generosity. But generosity is not something you just have to vote for. I'm going to vote for generosity. Do it. Do it. And it could be anything. Anything you help somebody with. You lend somebody a helping hand, then you're a true liberal. But you realize just like yourself and the government itself for the whole country, you can't spend 100% of your time helping others. You got to help yourself. You got to make yourself strong enough that you can help others. And you know, just just giving away everything is not going to work, because then you get used like a chump, and that's you don't need that type of thing when as far as like a principle in our government. Um, and also this definition, obsolete, lacking moral restraint, licentiousness. Yeah, that might be somewhat true even today of liberalism. That could be. It could be. But who's to define morals? Not the government. Not the government. It's in the whether the morals are an absolute that are in nature and it's universal and that's really what the truth is. Well, you still got an individual choice. Whatever your morals are, whatever the hell you do, as long as you're not hurting somebody else, no problem. Now, in the case of campaign manager Podesta, John Podesta with Hillary Clinton, that's another thing that came up, and it realized that was another problem that came up that really put a damper on her campaign. But that also tells you a lot what she's about too, right? So anyway, figured I'd put this out a little bit of a different twist, because I don't like putting out these political videos really, and I don't consider this that much of a political video. I got my own twist of doing things, but I don't like the information coming out of the major media, and I don't really like a lot of the information coming out of the alternative media. So I got my own way of thinking on this, and like I said, I think I'm more liberal in a true sense, not political sense, because I think when he's talking politics, it's like communism. It's like it actually is. Liberalism in politics is authoritarianism. That's what I see it. I know what it is, and so is conservatism. I'm not for any of that stuff. And some people would say I'm a libertarian, but they should really call it by the proper word, liberal. Liberal. I mean, they took the word and meant it doesn't mean what the hell they when they applied it to like the government, they're politicians. It's not what the word means. They're a bunch of dictators, for crying out loud. I am not bound. And actually, to tell you the truth, you know how liberal I am? I think people like right now they're petitioning Obama into prisons to try to get out and stuff. I'd get tens of thousands of them out of there right away, not just a couple hundred, like what a few hundred, whatever he did. I would, because I think that's one of the biggest crimes that's going on in the United States. Oh, prisons are burgeoning in the United States per capita, and we got the most prisoners. And I put this on many videos. And also, I don't think there's absolutely no rehabilitation going on there, despite what they say. What I would do too, I'd make sure they even have the best nutrition. They actually keep their minds, attuned to the best, in the best health, because I think a lot of people that commit crimes are sometimes, you know, it could be, I know you could say it's moral related, whatever. It could be nutrition related. Why people go off on it, get pissed off, or whatever it is. Maybe they were on a sugar high and they went down to a sugar low, and whatever. There's a lot of evidence to show that, and that would be part of my rehabilitation in corrections. But man, I guarantee you the conservatives wouldn't go for that in a million years. So where the hell does that put me as was a liberal? But then, who the hell put all these people in jail in the first place? Not only was it Ronnie Reagan and Bush, but it was Bill Clinton and Obama after him. If you look at the charts, So, I mean, I don't know what Trump's going to do about that. That's a separate issue. But like I said, I don't. I really think Trump defeating. Because I'm not 100% sure about him. I just know she was bad news. She's very, 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 very corrupt. Very, very, very authoritarian. Um, doesn't connect to people, and a big cold calculating act. And which you could say about pretty much all of them, but some are worse than others. But take heart for you people that actually think the world ended because Hillary lost. Because it's I think we actually got closer to a victory for true liberalism than what appears to be on the surface, what the major media is telling you, especially. Anyway, so take heart. Over and out.